Today I want to share a hard homesteading truth with you. Perfection doesn't exist, even in livestock housing options. Now I remember what it's like when you're researching all about a place for your animals to live. You want to find the perfect barn or coop or whatever, but it doesn't exist. Kind of like how our goat shack no longer exists. But how did we learn this truth? Well, the hard way. And don't worry, I'll tell you why the goat shack doesn't exist anymore too. But first, let me take you back to the beginning so you can see how we learned this. That way, you can save yourself the year we spent uncovering this data. 1 year ago, we were knee-deep in researching goat shacks. We'd put a deposit down on our goats, Clover and Katana, and we knew we needed to get things ready for them before they arrived in May. So we had just a few short months to get their housing ready, as well as everything else. But we couldn't find a prefabricated or ready-to-build barn kit or anything that was in our budget. So we had to get creative, and we had to do a lot of research. After all of our research, we built a pellet shack. In May, Clover and Katana arrived. Then we learned some hard truths. Here's a few of them. First, the roof was too short and I hit my head on it all the time. Second, there was plenty of room in the goat shack for the goats. And then the chickens moved in too. If we were going to breed the goats to keep a reliable source of milk, then there wasn't enough room for kidding. And not like the joking kind of kidding, but like the kind where goats have kids kidding. I also didn't have anywhere to milk the goats that was appropriate. Milking the goats in a small shack full of goats and chickens who are all trying to get the grain bucket? That's a recipe for disaster. In other words, once we got the goats, we realized that the shed was fine for the animals, but not for us or our goals in having the animals, which was to have fresh milk. As we started researching how to adjust our space to better align with our goals, the full impact of the pandemic really started to kick in. And our local school announced that it was going to be going fully digital for at least the first bit of school. And after a traumatic experience with a shutdown earlier that year with school, we decided that we would have to homeschool because it just wasn't going to work for our kids. And after a couple of days, I realized that in order to maintain my sanity, I would have to give up the goats and all of that delicious fresh milk in order to properly homeschool my kids and not go insane. So our goals changed, and we ended up raising the whole goat shack to build a bigger chicken coop. Translation, our goals changed, and so did our homestead space. And that's the way it should be. So quit stressing about finding that perfect goat shack, livestock barn, or chicken coop, or whatever else. Find out what you need, do your best, and expect to make changes as you go. Because that's what homesteading is all about, adjusting as you go. Happy homesteading.